So picture this. You walk into the kitchen after a really long day at work.
Oh, I think we all know where this is going.
Right. The trash can is completely tipped over. Coffee grounds, wrappers just scattered everywhere across the floor, and your dog is slinking away into the corner.
Yeah, doing the whole routine.
Exactly. Ears pinned, completely flat, tail tucked, giving you that classic, undeniably guilty look. I mean, you haven't even said a word yet, but they clearly know they did something wrong. Case closed.
It really feels that way, yeah.
But science actually says you're totally wrong here. They aren't feeling guilt at all. Actually, what you're looking at is an animal that is absolutely terrified of you.
It's a really harsh reality to confront, but that scenario, it perfectly encapsulates the core friction we're exploring today.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this deep dive is all about. We are unpacking this really fascinating psychological breakdown from a source called Lucky Psychology.
Right, which details how these everyday human habits are, just quietly eroding the trust between owners and their dogs, usually without the owner even realizing it.
Totally. And the mission today is to give you, the listener, the tools to flip the script. We're focusing on actionable ways to change your own behavior. So specifically, things like replacing yelling with positive communication and using this clever psychology hack called the trade method to handle stuff like toy stealing.
Because the fundamental problem here is just that we are primates. We constantly project our complex primate-level psychology onto an animal with a completely different evolutionary background.
We really do.
We do. So when we assume a dog is feeling moral culpability like guilt over a spilled trash can, we're just setting ourselves up for a massive breakdown in communication.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to go back to that kitchen floor. If the dog isn't feeling guilty, what is actually happening in their brain? Like what's driving that tucked tail?
Well, to understand the whole guilty look, we really have to look at how dogs process time. Dogs operate on an incredibly short associative memory window.
How short are we talking?
Roughly 30 seconds.
Wait, really? Just 30 seconds?
Just 30 seconds. If your dog tipped over that trash can, say, 20 minutes ago, the episodic memory of doing that is completely disconnected from the current moment. They just don't have the cognitive architecture to sit there and reflect on past transgressions.
So they aren't sitting there thinking, oh man, I really messed up with the coffee grounds.
Exactly. They aren't. The posture they're displaying is entirely a real-time reaction to your sudden change in physiology.
Oh, I see. So you walk into the room, your breathing probably shallows out, your shoulders get tense.
Your facial expression hardens, maybe your cortisol spikes because, you're stressed about the mess.
Right. And dogs are, what, picking up on that?
Oh, they are master readers of human microexpressions and chemical shifts. They instantly detect that you've entered the space in this heightened, potentially aggressive state. So the flattened ears, avoiding eye contact, the slinking away, these are just classic canine appeasement behaviors. In a pack, a subordinate dog uses these exact physical signals to de-escalate aggression.
They're basically saying, hey, I see you're angry, please don't hurt me.
Exactly. I am zero threat to you right now. It's an act of self-preservation. It is not an apology.
Which makes the traditional human response, like yelling no, or bad dog, so incredibly counterproductive. It's like a boss screaming at you in a language you don't speak, right? You aren't learning how to do your job better. You're just terrified of your boss.
That is a perfect analogy. Because neurologically, when you yell, you're spiking their cortisol even further. You force them into a sympathetic nervous system response. Fight or flight mode.
And in that mode, they can't learn anything anyway.
Not a thing. The amygdala essentially hijacks the prefrontal cortex. In survival mode, the brain diverts all cognitive resources away from learning and just redirects them toward assessing the immediate threat.
So the words bad dog are literally just meaningless noise.
Just noise. All they perceive is that the person they rely on for survival is suddenly dangerously unpredictable.
Which brings us to the first major actionable shift from the source material. We have to completely eliminate fear-based discipline, replacing that yelling with positive communication. But how do we actually do that if the 30-second window is already closed?
Well, if you don't catch them in the act, the training opportunity is gone. You just have to clean up the trash and, buy a better lid.
Right, take the loss.
Yeah, take the loss. But if you do catch them in the act, screaming doesn't teach them what to do instead. You have to calmly redirect the behavior to something acceptable and reward that choice.
That requires so much emotional regulation from the owner, though.
Oh, an immense amount. We have to override our own primate urge to just vocally dominate a frustrating situation. And, this tendency to map primate behaviors onto dogs naturally bleeds into other areas too, especially physical boundaries.
Yes. This blew my mind in the source material. Hugging. As primates, we hug to soothe, right? To comfort, to show love. It releases oxytocin. We just assume wrapping our arms around our dog does the same thing for them.
Right, but biologically speaking, canines don't have arms that wrap. In their evolutionary language, placing your weight over another dog's back or restricting their movement, that's a profound assertion of control, sometimes even a prelude to an attack.
Wow, so we think we're giving a loving squeeze, and they think they're being pinned down.
Basically, yes. Restraint is highly alarming to an animal that relies on mobility to survive. Now, a well-socialized dog might tolerate this from an owner they trust, but tolerance is fundamentally different from enjoyment.
And people miss the signs that the dog is stressed out by it.
Constantly. Because the human is so absorbed in their own oxytocin rush, they ignore the subtle distress signals.
The source listed a few of these that I found fascinating, like lip licking
Yes, displacement behaviors.
and yawning when they aren't even tired. Or the whale eye, where they turn their head away but keep looking at you so you see the whites of their eyes.
Right, or their entire body might just stiffen up.
Mm.
These are incredibly polite requests for space in canine language. They're trying to avoid escalating things, signaling discomfort without having to growl or snap.
But if we ignore those polite signals and just force the hug anyway.
The dog learns a dangerous lesson. Their communication is futile. It creates learned helplessness. Or worse, it pushes them to escalate their warnings because the subtle ones didn't work.
That makes total sense. And this idea of respecting boundaries, it segues perfectly into another huge area where we just ruin trust, resource management.
Oh, this is a big one.
Yeah. So imagine your dog gets hold of your expensive leather shoe, or they snatch a chicken bone off the street. The visceral human instinct is to lunge forward, pry their jaws open, and just rip it out of their mouth.
Right, because we think, I'm the alpha, this is my shoe.
Exactly. But wait, let me push back on this for a second. If they have my favorite shoe, shouldn't I just take it back to show I'm the one in charge? Like, establishing a firm boundary.
It's a really common assumption. But the whole alpha dog concept has been thoroughly debunked by modern behavioral science. Even the guy who coined the term walked it back. Snatching an item triggers a deeply ingrained survival response regarding resource scarcity.
So it's not like taking a toy from a toddler.
Not at all. To a dog, a shoe or a bone is high-value currency.
Yeah.
Ripping it away is the psychological equivalent of having your wallet snatched out of your hands on the subway.
Oh man, that induces instant panic.
Exactly. And that panic breeds a behavioral loop called resource guarding. If every time they find something valuable, a giant human swoops in and steals it, they adopt a scarcity mindset. They learn humans are unpredictable thieves.
So they start hiding under the bed, or growling when you get near them.
Right, because they feel they had to defend their limited resources.
Which brings us to the focused solution from the source material, the trade method. Applying this idea of trading toys or treats instead of just taking things away.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that it fundamentally alters the emotional response. When you offer a high-value trade, like a piece of cheese for the shoe, you shift their brain from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
You're proving that giving something up actually leads to an upgrade.
Precisely. You become a provider, not a taker. You walk over with the cheese, they voluntarily drop the shoe, and you praise them.
You're totally changing the interaction from a conflict to a collaboration.
And over time, that extinguishes the need to guard resources at all. The boundary is still there, you get your shoe back, but it's established through cooperation, cementing trust instead of eroding it.
I love that. And it really all circles back to consistency, doesn't it? The trade method gives them a predictable outcome, and they need that predictability in everything we do.
Absolutely. Dogs are basically pattern recognition machines. If A happens, B follows. When the rules are stable, their nervous system can relax. But humans are, well, notoriously inconsistent.
We really are. We let our moods dictate the rules. The source had this great example about the couch.
The puppy on the couch.
Yeah. So on Saturday, you're in a great mood, the puppy jumps up, you think it's adorable, and you cuddle them. But then on Tuesday, you come home super stressed from work, wearing nice clothes, the puppy jumps up seeking that same connection, and you just explode and yell at them.
To the dog, the environment just fractured. They don't understand the context of human stress or dry cleaning. All they process is that the exact same behavior that earned them love 3 days ago has suddenly triggered a terrifying response.
It makes them walk on eggshells. They're constantly guessing which version of you just walked through the door.
Exactly. And this need for predictability is why misusing the crate is so devastating. A crate is biologically designed to mimic a secure space to decompress. But if you use it for punishment,
You're turning it into a prison.
right, it becomes associated with anger and isolation. The crate must always be a positive space, never a timeout zone.
That makes total sense. Now, this theme of emotional presence, or lack of it, really shows up during the daily walk, too. For us, walking the dog is a chore. We put in our earbuds, stare at our phones. But the source material describes a fire hydrant as being like reading the morning newspaper for a dog.
Which is almost an understatement. Their olfactory bulb is massive compared to ours. They have this thing called the Jacobson's organ that lets them literally detect moisture-borne molecules.
That is wild.
It is. They aren't just smelling that another dog was there. They're detecting pheromones, cortisol levels, immune health. Because scent molecules decay at different rates, they can even tell exactly how long ago another dog passed by.
So they're essentially smelling time. It's this high bandwidth data processing session.
And crucially, it's meant to be a shared excursion. In a pack, moving together and assessing territory is a deeply bonding activity. But if you're completely absorbed in your phone,
It's like going on a dinner date with someone who won't look up from their screen. You're physically there, but emotionally entirely absent.
that is exactly what it feels like to them. The emotional tether is severed. And the danger of that absence is compounded when you encounter stressful situations like forced socialization.
Oh, when an owner drags a shy dog over to meet a stranger.
Right. Oh, it's fine. Go say hi. The dog is tucking their tail, showing all those stress signals, and the owner forces the interaction anyway.
In psychology, we call that flooding, overwhelming the nervous system.
And it almost always backfires. You're teaching the dog that when they are terrified, the person holding the leash won't protect them.
Which feeds into this final, really insidious behavior that quietly pushes dogs away. The slow erosion of trust through rejected affection.
Insidious is the perfect word
Yeah.
because it happens in these micro moments.
Right, like when they lean against your leg while you're working or bring you a toy when you're rushing out the door, and we just sigh and go, "Not right now, I'm busy."
Individually, it seems harmless. We think we'll make it up to them later. But dogs don't conceptualize the future. They only process the emotional tone of the immediate interaction.
So if you constantly push them away,
They learn that their bids for connection are an annoyance. And studies show this causes genuine, measurable anxiety. Eventually, they just stop trying and withdraw to protect themselves.
wow. So rebuilding this trust really isn't about being an alpha or a strict disciplinarian at all.
Not even a little bit.
It's about seeing the world through their eyes. We have to trade yelling for clear, positive communication. We have to trade toy snatching for collaborative exchanges. And we have to actually be present on those walks.
Exactly. And the good news is dogs are incredibly forgiving. If you start responding positively to those quiet bids for affection, you will rebuild that bond.
That is really encouraging. And it leaves me with one final kind of provocative thought for everyone listening. If our dogs are constantly reading our microexpressions and the literal chemical smell of our stress hormones, how much of our dog's anxious or quote-unquote bad behavior is actually just a mirror?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Right. Like, are they just reflecting our own unmanaged daily stress right back at us?
It's a paradigm-shifting thought,
Yeah.
and it requires a lot of honesty to answer.
Definitely something to ponder the next time you pick up the leash. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.